want you to remember something. The night your whole life falls apart doesn't announce itself. There's no thunder. No warning sign taped to the door. It comes dressed like any other Tuesday, quiet, ordinary, forgettable. Until the phone rings. Mine rang at 11:47 p.m. Chapter 1. The call that changed everything. I was sitting in my design studio, surrounded by fabric swatches and mood boards for a hotel lobby project. My coffee had gone cold 2 hours ago. My shoes were off. My hair was clipped up in that messy way Daniel always said made me look like a college student pulling an all-nighter. Daniel, my husband, the man I'd married 3 years ago in a courthouse ceremony because neither of us wanted anything fancy. The man who kissed my forehead every morning before I opened my eyes. The man whose voice, when it came through the phone that night, sounded like it belonged to someone dying. Mara. He paused. I could hear him breathing. I need you to come home. I'm finishing the Alden project, I said. I'll be back by 1. No. Now. Please. I put down my pencil. Daniel never said please like that. Like the word cost him something. What happened? Another pause. Longer this time. Then, I lost everything. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just held the phone against my ear and let those 3 words drill into my skull. What do you mean, everything? The accounts are frozen. The investments, they collapsed. Turner called me this afternoon. It's gone, Mara. All of it. My mouth went dry. How much is gone? All of it, he repeated. His voice cracked. We have nothing. Chapter 2. What my mother taught me. I closed my eyes. And in that darkness behind my eyelids, I wasn't 29 anymore. I was 8 years old, standing in the doorway of a 1-bedroom apartment, watching my mother count coins on the kitchen table at midnight, watching her cry without making a sound because she thought I was asleep. I wasn't going back there. Couldn't. I'm coming home, I said. I hung up and sat in the silence for exactly 90 seconds. Then I picked up my phone again and called my mother. Vivian Chen picked up on the first ring. She always did. She slept like a soldier, light, alert, ready for bad news. Mom, Daniel says he's lost all his money. Silence. Mom, pack a bag, she said. Her voice was flat, surgical. Leave tonight. I haven't even talked to him properly yet. Mara, she cut me off like a blade. I cleaned hotel bathrooms for 22 years because your father swore he loved me and then disappeared when the rent was due. Love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't keep the lights on. You leave that man tonight, or in 20 years you'll be me. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say Daniel wasn't my father, that this was different. But the 8-year-old girl inside me, the one who'd eaten cereal with water because the milk money ran out, she was louder than the woman I'd become. Okay, I whispered. Chapter 3. Filing day. I opened my laptop and typed, divorce attorney near me, urgent consultation. I drove home at midnight. The apartment was dim. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, still in his work shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked like he hadn't moved in hours. His eyes were red, not crying red, exhausted red, defeated red. He looked up when I walked in. Hey, he said softly. Hey. I stood by the doorway. I didn't sit down. I didn't take off my jacket. He noticed. Mara, come sit with me. I need some space tonight, I said. I'll sleep in the guest room. Something flickered across his face. Pain, surprise, maybe both. Okay, he said quietly. We'll talk in the morning. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Not fast, not cruel. Just enough. Just the distance I needed to protect myself. I walked into the guest room and locked the door. Then I sat on the bed and texted Priya. He lost everything. I'm filing for divorce. 3 dots appeared. Then Mara. Don't do anything permanent at 2 a.m. But I'd already made up my mind. I wasn't being impulsive. I was being the woman my mother raised me to be, a survivor. I booked a meeting with Nathan Cross, attorney at law, for 8 a.m. Nathan Cross had the kind of office that smelled like leather and old money. Dark wood, heavy curtains, A pen that probably cost more than my first month's rent at the studio. He sat across from me, flipping through an intake form I'd filled out in the waiting room. His face showed nothing. No judgment. No sympathy. Just efficiency. How long have you been married? 3 years. Children? No. Joint assets. That's the thing, I said. He told me he lost everything. Investments collapsed. Accounts frozen. I don't know the full picture. Nathan looked up. You don't have access to shared financial records. Daniel handled the finances. I run my own studio, I have my own income. We kept things mostly separate. Mostly? There's a joint savings account. Or there was. Nathan wrote something down. I'll need his full legal name and any business entities you're aware of. Daniel Ashford. He had some kind of investment portfolio. A financial advisor named Turner managed it. That's all I know. Nathan nodded slowly. Mrs. Ashford. Divorces filed under financial distress can get complicated. I'll run an asset search as part of standard procedure. Takes about 2 weeks. Fine. I just want it done cleanly. He slid the papers across the desk. I signed every page without reading them. My hand was steady. When I stepped outside, the sun was blinding. I just filed for divorce from the man I loved. And I felt nothing. That's what scared me the most. Chapter 4. The silence after. I called Priya from the parking lot. That's when I broke. Not inside the lawyer's office. Not at home. In a parking lot at 9:15 a.m. Sitting in my car with the engine off. Crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Priya drove 20 minutes across town and slid into the passenger seat without a word. She let me cry for 10 minutes. Then she handed me a napkin from her purse. Do you still love him? She asked. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Mara. That's not the point, I said. It's exactly the point. Love didn't save my mother, Priya. It buried her. Priya looked at me for a long time. Then she said, You're not your mother. But I was. That was the whole problem. I was exactly her, just with better clothes and a business card. That afternoon, I drove back to the apartment while Daniel was out. I placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table with a single note. I can't be poor again. I'm sorry. I expected rage. I expected a dozen missed calls. Texts in capital letters. Maybe Daniel showing up at my studio with clenched fists and a broken voice. I got silence. 1 day. 2 days. 5. Nothing. I'd moved into a small rental near my studio. Priya helped me carry boxes. She didn't push me to talk, which was worse. It meant she thought I was fragile. I'm fine, I told her on day 3. You've said that 11 times today, she said. Which is exactly how many times a person who isn't fine says it. Day 7. My phone rang. Daniel's office number. My heart slammed against my ribs. But it wasn't Daniel. It was a woman named Jenna Whitmore, his secretary. Mrs. Ashford, I'm calling to coordinate the separation of your shared accounts. Mr. Ashford asked me to handle the logistics. Her voice was professional, polite, but there was something underneath it, a hesitation, like she was reading from a script and hating every word. Fine, I said. Send me whatever I need to sign. I will. And Mrs. Ashford. She stopped. What? Nothing. I'll send the documents. She hung up. I replayed the call in my head 3 times. There was something she wanted to say, something she swallowed. That night, I lay on the floor of my rental apartment. I hadn't bought a bed frame yet, and stared at the ceiling. Then why does it feel like I made a mistake? I whispered to no one. Chapter 5. The truth has a paper trail. 2 weeks after filing, I buried myself in work. New projects, new clients, anything to keep my hands and brain occupied so my heart would shut up. That's when Ray Delgado walked into my studio. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a warm smile and paint-stained sneakers. He owned a restaurant across town and wanted a full interior redesign for his new location. I saw your work in City Interiors magazine, he said, sitting across from me. The Morrison Project. It was incredible. Thank you. I want something bold. Something that makes people feel like they've walked into a different world. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt a spark. Not romantic, not personal. Creative. I was excited about something. We spent an hour discussing his vision. He told jokes. I laughed. Genuinely. Felt foreign. "You have a great laugh," he said on his way out. "I'm out of practice," I replied. I don't know why I said that. It was too honest. He paused at the door. "Then practice more." That afternoon, my phone rang again. Nathan Cross. "Mrs. Ashford, I need you to come in. Today, if possible." "What's wrong?" "I'd rather discuss this in person." I drove to his office with my stomach in knots. Nathan was standing behind his desk when I walked in. Papers were spread across the surface. Printed documents, highlighted in yellow and red. "Sit down, Mara." I sat. "During the standard asset search for your divorce, my team uncovered a holding company, Ashford Legacy LLC, registered under your husband's name." "Okay. This company owns commercial real estate, multiple properties across the city." He paused. "Including the building where your design studio is located." I blinked. "What?" "Your husband owns the building you work in. He also owns 3 others. 2 residential complexes and a mixed-use development downtown." That's not possible." He said he lost everything. Nathan slid a paper toward me. Highlighted in yellow, "Daniel James Ashford, sole owner, Ashford Legacy LLC. Total estimated portfolio value, $14.2 million. He was never bankrupt, Mara. Not even close." I stared at the numbers. My vision blurred. Not from tears, from something worse. Confusion. Anger. And underneath it all, a shame so deep it felt like drowning. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would he lie?" Nathan leaned back. "That's not a legal question, Mrs. Ashford. That's a personal one." Chapter 6. Confrontation. I sat in my car for 40 minutes after that meeting. I didn't start the engine. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, holding a document that proved my husband had lied to me, and that I had left him because I believed the lie. Both of us were liars. We just lied about different things. I drove straight to his office. I didn't call ahead. I didn't think. Thinking would have stopped me, and I needed to not stop. The receptionist stood up. "Ma'am, you need an appointment." I walked past her. Jenna was in the hallway. She saw me coming. She didn't move. She didn't try to block me. She just looked at me with those guilty eyes and stepped aside. I pushed open Daniel's office door and threw the property documents onto his desk. "Explain." Daniel looked at the papers, then at me. His face didn't change. No surprise, no panic, just resignation, like he'd been waiting for this. "Sit down, Mara." "I'll stand." He exhaled, ran his hands through his hair. "My mother, Helen, married my dad for money. He was building his company when they met. She was charming, beautiful, attentive. He fell hard. I didn't come here for a family history lesson. You need to hear this." His voice was firm now, not angry, desperate. When his first business failed, she left, took what she could and walked out. He rebuilt, got wealthy again. She came back. He took her back because he loved her. And when she had enough, she divorced him and took half of everything. She broke him, Mara. Financially, emotionally. He's never been the same. I stood there, arms crossed, jaw locked. "So I had to know," Daniel said. "I had to know if you married me or if you married what I had. So you lied to me. I tested you. You tested me." I let those words hang in the air like smoke. "You faked a crisis to watch what I'd do." "Yes." "And what did I do, Daniel? What did you see?" He didn't answer. "I'll tell you what you saw," I said, my voice shaking. "You saw a woman whose mother starved so she could eat. A woman who spent her childhood terrified of being hungry. You poked the deepest wound I have and then judged me for bleeding." "Mara." "No. You don't get to Mara me right now." I stepped closer. "You could have talked to me. You could have told me about your mother, about your fears. You could have trusted me with the truth. Instead, You staged a lie and turned our marriage into an experiment. His eyes were wet. And you could have stayed. That hit me like a physical blow. You could have stayed, he repeated. You could have said, we'll figure it out. You could have held my hand and told me it didn't matter. But you didn't. You filed for divorce before the sun came up. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. So what did I learn? He said quietly. I learned I was right to be afraid. I turned and walked out. In the hallway, Jenna caught my arm gently. He cried for 3 days after you filed, she said. I've been his assistant for 5 years. I have never seen that man cry. I pulled my arm free and kept walking. Out of the office. Out of the building. His building. The irony sat on my chest like concrete. Chapter 7. The woman in the mirror. I went back to my rental and fell apart. Not the quiet, dignified kind of falling apart. The ugly kind. The kind where you sit on the bathroom floor and pull at your own hair and ask yourself when exactly you became this person. Because he was right. Not completely. Not in a way that excused what he did. But the core of it, the bone-deep truth underneath all the anger was this: I ran. The moment things looked hard, I ran. I picked up my phone and called Vivian. Mom, I need to tell you something. What happened? Daniel wasn't broke. He faked it. He was testing me. Silence. And I failed. I said. I failed because I did exactly what you told me to do. I left. More silence. Mom, say something. I told you to survive, she said finally. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. I never told you to be happy. Those are different instructions, Mara. I hung up and cried until I had nothing left. The next day, Priya came over. She brought soup and didn't ask questions for a full hour. Then she said, What are you going to do? I don't know. Do you want him back? I don't know. Do you want to keep working? Yes. That one I was sure about. I need to keep working. Then keep working. The rest will sort itself out. Ray texted me that afternoon about the restaurant project. I almost canceled, but Priya's voice was in my head, and I showed up. The restaurant was half-built. Exposed brick, bare wiring, dust everywhere. Ray was moving tables around, sketching layouts on napkins. You okay? He asked. No preamble. No small talk. Rough week. He nodded. I had a fiancé once. Left me when my first restaurant failed. Took the ring, the dog, and the espresso machine. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. People show you who they are when the money disappears. But here's the thing I learned. Sometimes fear makes liars out of good people. I looked at him. Are you talking about her or about me? I'm talking about everybody. That night, alone in my rental, I made a decision. Not about Daniel. Not about Ray. About myself. I didn't want to be the woman who ran. Not anymore. Not the version my mother built. Not the version Daniel feared. I wanted to be someone new. Someone who could look at hard things and stay in the room. Chapter 8. What he lost. I heard about Daniel's unraveling in pieces. Fragments. Jenna called me once. Not for logistics, but because she was worried. He's not coming to the office, she said. He's not returning calls. Marcus is trying to get through to him. But Marcus Webb, Daniel's best friend. The one who had apparently helped him stage the entire bankruptcy lie. Marcus called me next, and he was drunk. You need to know something, Marcus slurred. I told him not to do it. I told him the test was insane. He didn't listen. He was so scared of becoming his father that Marcus's voice broke. He's my best friend, and I don't know how to help him. That's not my responsibility anymore, I said. Yeah, Marcus said. I know. I just thought you should know he's not the villain. He's just a broken man who broke the one thing he cared about. I hung up and didn't sleep that night. A week later, Jenna told me that Daniel's father, Owen, had come to see him. She overheard them through the office door. Owen told him, and these were his exact words. You became the thing you were afraid of. You manipulated someone to test their love. That's exactly what your mother did to me. I pressed the phone against my ear. What did Daniel say? Nothing. He just sat there. That night, at 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Daniel. I pressed play with a trembling finger. Mara, I know you won't pick up. I know I don't deserve you to. But I need you to understand something. I didn't test you because I didn't love you. I tested you because I loved you too much to survive losing you the way my father lost everything. And I lost you anyway. I'm sorry. For the test. For the lie. For all of it. You deserved a husband who trusted you. I wasn't that. I'm sorry. I saved the voicemail. I played it 17 times. I didn't call back. Chapter 9. Rebuilding alone. 3 months passed. I finished Ray's restaurant. It was beautiful warm wood, deep greens, exposed copper pipes, soft lighting that made everyone look like they were in a movie. The opening night was packed. A food critic wrote about the design. Then an interior magazine called. Then another. My studio was growing. I hired an assistant. Priya handled the business expansion. For the first time in my life, I was building something that was entirely mine. Not born from fear, not running from poverty, just creating because I was good at it. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday. Nathan called me into his office for the final signatures. Before you sign, he said, I want to discuss the asset division. Given the hidden assets, you're entitled to a significant claim. I don't want it. Nathan stared at me. Mrs. Ashford, we're talking about millions. I know what we're talking about. I don't want a cent of it. Can I ask why? I looked at him. Because if I take his money, he'll spend the rest of his life believing he was right about me. And I need him to be wrong. Nathan exhaled, nodded slowly, and pushed the papers forward. I signed them. No claim to assets. No settlement. Clean break. Walking out, I felt lighter than I had in months. Not happy, not yet, but lighter. That week, Ray asked me to dinner. Not as a client, as a date. I looked at him. His kind eyes, his easy smile, his paint-stained sneakers, and I wanted to say yes. But I knew I wasn't ready. I'm still putting myself back together, I told him. I don't want to bring broken pieces into something new. He nodded. I'm patient. That might be a long wait. I own a restaurant. I know how to wait for things to be ready. I smiled. A real one. But that night, standing inside my studio, I made another decision. This building, the one Daniel owned, the one where I'd built my career, I had to leave it. I couldn't build my future inside his walls. I started looking for a new space the next morning. Chapter 10. The letter under the door. It was my last night in the studio. Boxes everywhere. The walls were bare. I'd taken down every mood board, every fabric swatch, every photo. It didn't look like mine anymore. It looked like what it was. Someone else's building. I was locking up when I saw it. A white envelope on the floor, just inside the door. Someone had slipped it through the gap. I picked it up. No name on the front. I opened it. Inside was a document. Property deed. For this building. Transferred to Mara Chen. I scanned every line, looking for conditions, clauses, strings. There were none. Clean transfer. Full ownership. And at the bottom, in the section marked, Reason for Transfer, one typed line, because it was always yours. I sat down on the cold floor surrounded by moving boxes. I pressed the deed against my chest. And I cried. Not from sadness. Not from joy. From the sheer, unbearable complexity of loving someone who broke you and being someone who broke them back. He didn't ask me to come back. He didn't use this as a bargaining chip. He just gave it to me, quietly, the way Daniel always loved, in gestures, not words. My phone was in my hand. For a moment, just a moment, my thumb hovered over his name. I imagined calling him. I imagined his voice. I imagined saying, "Come home." But I didn't. Instead, I called Priya. "Hey," I said. "Hey, why do you sound like you've been crying?" "Because I have." Good crying or bad crying? I looked at the deed, at the empty walls, at the boxes that held everything I'd built. "I think I'm going to be okay," I said. And for the first time in months, I believed it. I didn't go back to Daniel. I didn't end up with Ray. Not then, anyway. Maybe someday. Maybe not. What I did was stay. In the building. In my work. In the slow, painful, beautiful process of becoming someone I actually respected. My mother taught me to survive. Daniel taught me that survival isn't the same as living. And losing him taught me the hardest lesson of all. That sometimes the person who hurts you the most is the one you see in the mirror. He tested me and I failed. But the woman who walked out of that marriage, she's the one who finally passed.